It was just after noon on a quiet Wednesday in 1984 when a well-known butcher stepped out of his shop in South London, calmly locked the door, and vanished. Police were called hours later. What they discovered inside that shop would horrify a nation, stump detectives for weeks, and ultimately uncover one of the darkest family secrets London had ever seen. But the truly disturbing part? This wasn't the first time he'd done it. In the summer of 1984, the neighborhood of Brixton in South London was a vibrant, working-class community, and nestled on a quiet corner was a family-owned butcher shop called Clarke & Sons Meats. The man behind the counter was Leonard Clarke, a 63-year-old butcher who had run the shop for over 30 years. Locals described him as polite, punctual, a man of few words, always in his white apron, always on time. And then, one Wednesday afternoon, he didn't open. By noon, customers had gathered outside. No meat hanging in the window, no back in 5 sign, just a locked door, and an unsettling smell leaking into the street. By 1 p.m., a concerned neighbor, Mrs. Fallon, called the police. A rookie constable arrived, 22-year-old James Harris. He peered through the foggy window and saw something he couldn't explain. The shop looked empty. But the meat hooks were gently swinging, as if someone had just walked past them. And then he saw the blood trail, thin, almost artistic, leading to the back room. When police forced their way in, they found nothing at first. No sign of Leonard. But behind the counter on the butcher's table was a partially wrapped human torso. For a moment, officers thought it was a sick joke, a mannequin. But it wasn't. It was real, fresh, methodically cut, and wrapped in brown butcher paper, just like any other cut of meat. Pinned to the wrapping was a small, handwritten tag. It said, "She shouldn't have come back." The media went into a frenzy. A butcher, a torso, and a missing man. The torso was identified through fingerprints as Margaret Finch, a retired librarian who had only just returned to London after nearly 2 decades abroad. And here's the first twist. Margaret was Leonard Clarke's estranged sister. But no one in Brixton knew he even had a sister. The police now believed this wasn't a random murder. This was personal, and maybe even premeditated. When detectives searched Leonard's modest apartment above the shop, they found a neatly arranged home, meticulous, everything labeled, alphabetized, except for one door, nailed shut from the outside. Inside was a sealed room filled with dusty photo albums, burned letters, and yellowed newspaper clippings. One photo album had a torn cover. On the first page, a woman in a floral dress, holding 2 children. In pen, the name. Eleanor Clarke, their mother. There were no more pictures of her after 1949. That same year, local archives revealed Eleanor Clarke had vanished, presumed to have abandoned her family, but no missing persons report had ever been filed. Why? Finally, because Leonard's father had told everyone she ran away. No questions asked. But in a taped interview weeks before her death, Margaret told a friend she had come back to confront the truth. She said she had discovered something awful from their childhood that should have been buried forever. 2 weeks after the murder, Leonard Clarke was spotted in a seaside town in Kent, working under a false name at a fish market. He was arrested without resistance, no fight, just a quiet, "You found me." In custody, he barely spoke, until detectives showed him a photo of Margaret. He stared at it and said, "She made me remember." Piece by piece, Leonard told a story that would chill even the most seasoned detectives. He claimed that when he was 9 years old, his mother, Eleanor, had discovered that her husband, Leonard's father, had been abusing the children. One night she tried to run away with them. But his father found out, and in the basement of the butcher shop, he killed her. Leonard said he was told never to speak of her again, or he'd end up the same way. When his father died of a heart attack in 1971, Leonard claimed he finally dug up what was left of his mother's remains and reburied her under a concrete slab in the shop's foundation, alongside her wedding locket. He even kept one of the original meat hooks used in the killing and carved her name into it. When Margaret returned in 1984 and started asking questions, Leonard said he panicked. Her visit had unlocked everything. She had threatened to go to the police. So, he silenced her. And then, calmly, wrapped her body and walked out. The trial of Leonard Clarke was short, but unforgettable. He pleaded guilty, but in his final statement to the court, he said, "I didn't kill my sister out of hate. I killed her to stop the past from being remembered, to keep my mother from being buried twice." A court-ordered excavation beneath the butcher shop's foundation confirmed everything. There, encased in a weathered wooden box, were the remains of a woman in a lace dress. Inside was a heart-shaped pendant that read, "Forever yours, E.C." Just before sentencing, one detective asked Leonard a final question. "Was Margaret your only victim?" Leonard paused, then smiled faintly and whispered, "You only saw what I wanted you to see." To this day, the full truth of what happened inside Clarke & Sons Meats may never be known. Sometimes the past doesn't stay buried. And sometimes monsters don't hide in the dark. Sometimes they stand behind a counter and hand you your dinner. If you found this story chilling, subscribe for more real-life mysteries that twist, turn, and stick with you long after the credits roll. Thanks for watching.